Today on Heroes of the Deep.
Drop anchor.
You're half a meter above the ground and don't see a wreck? Oxygen should be on, but nothing comes out. Just burn, damn it.
Wait a minute, your hose is stuck.
Early in the morning, the BT-2 is moored in the harbour of Sassnitz. Ship and crew are ready to set sail to tackle the Baltic divers' next assignment. A good half hour away from Rügen, an old wreck must be freed from deadly ghost nets in the name of environmental protection.
Baltic Diver 2 has taken off.
Captain Alex safely manoeuvres the ship out of the harbour, with today's destination firmly in sight.
We are off Sassnitz and are now heading for the wreck position of the fishing cutter Friedrich Engels.
This is just one of many thousands of wrecks in the Baltic Sea on which countless fishing nets have become snagged. Due to a lack of government initiatives, their dangerous salvage is often undertaken by environmental protection organisations. Biologist Verena Platt-Till of the Society for the Rescue of Dolphins has already taken this risk several times. Today, thanks to the cooperation with the Baltic Sea divers, she hopes for a profitable net recovery.
I've already pulled out a few, on a completely different level than you can, of course. I'm a scuba diver.
Are there any safety concerns when scuba divers do this? Because I only ever see them getting caught in the net with the tank on their back. That's where I always see the shortcomings when scuba divers do that.
The diving sites we've chosen so far were on a completely different level and easy. We won't go to deep wrecks now.
You've no voice connection. How do you tell the crane driver?
It's always a matter of cost. Big ships cost money, a crane costs money, but you are limited in the mass. At the last salvage, we took out 9 tons in 2 days. But the question always is, who finances it?
At the moment, the only thing that remains is a donation pot because the problem is invisible to most people. Politicians have been slow to react, but a closer look reveals some shocking facts.
Ghost nets are referred to as a silent, deadly danger at the bottom of the sea or in the deep. The problem with ghost nets is that they're just drifting through the oceans, and they're drifting around in the wrecks, and then they're sort of setting up in a water column. Fish or marine mammals can die miserably, and they just kill without purpose. We assume that millions of animals die in the nets annually. If one wants to be more concrete, one can say that it's about 136,000 whales, dolphins and seals. Additionally, millions of birds, seabirds, fish and other small organisms. They're just senselessly killing biodiversity.
The task is important. The equipment for it is ready. It offers a touch of coziness even for tough sea dogs.
If you want, you can get the helmet.
But the greatest thing here is that every diver has his own bonnet, which goes into the helmet so that the helmet doesn't hurt so much. So it's like a pillow for the head.
As always, diver Eric has his very own ideas.
Of course, everyone can design the inlay individually to hers or his taste. A colleague got me fabrics with beautiful unicorns and rainbows on it. Nobody will take that away from me. And I always find mine again very quickly. but I've seen many different inlays with plush and special colors. This seems especially masculine to me. Why not? I'm into extravagant colors and shapes.
Ich stehe da so ein bisschen drauf auf extravagante Farben und Formen und da schien mir das passend für mich.
While the boarding ladder for the diver is being installed, the briefing for the recovery is taking place below deck. Tobias is not on board as a diver today. He's leading the operation on this trip.
I'm allowed to come along as the dive leader this time. My boss always says we're the next generation and that we have to be trained at some point. A short project with the main crew, with everyone speaking German, with us knowing each other, is a job we can use to practice. Maybe the project manager will recommend me to the boss and say that I did a good job, that he trusts me to do that again. If I'm a diver again next time, you will know. Hello, men and lady. We're in position, anchors are dropped, and we've prepared everything outside. We are above a fishing boat that sank sometime in the 1970s. Ghost nets regularly get tangled up on it.
An dem verheddern sich regelmäßig irgendwelche Geisternetze.
17 meters?
Exactly. Water depth around 17 meters.
Do we want to get the crane in the water right at the beginning? Experience shows that it makes sense to pick the net at a nice point, lift it, and see how it behaves.
Ja.
Well, if there are no further questions... Did you also sign the other page? Have fun. Let's go.
Wir dürfen, wir können. So.
As with any operation, the safety protocol is signed. However, wreck diving can be particularly dicey.
Divers should always make sure that they don't get into trouble, that they don't get tangled up. We especially had the knives sharpened again so that you don't fiddle for too long, but cut the line to free yourself and not get tangled. They're experts, but sometimes 4 eyes see more than 2. I'm preparing the pressure chamber, which has somehow been forgotten. When we dive 10 meters deep, we have to keep the pressure chamber prepared.
Ab Tauchtiefen von 10 Meter müssen wir die Druckkammer vorhalten.
Before the final check, some people forget a few details.
Tobi, haben wir noch Arbeitshandschuhe hier irgendwie umliegen, so ganz 0815?
Tatsächlich?
Gloves are needed, for instance.
Ja, aber es ist schon ein paar Tage her.
And when it comes to safety, there should be no joking.
Du weißt ja, hier sowas gibt's nur auf Zuteilung.
Muss ich da unterschreiben jetzt?
Ja.
Dankeschön.
Eric, you can't be serious.
Ich hoffe, die weiß nicht,
Toby hopes we didn't catch his less than macho bottle on camera, but of course we did.
I'm really ashamed of you. You can't say anything bad about Eric. He does his job very well. A diving freak, one of a kind. He dives here from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then takes his diving gear and drives to Nienhagen to dive in his free time.
Nach Nienhagen fährt und tauchen geht.
That's not the only reason why Eric is now allowed to get right to work. The former diving instructor is still undergoing further training to become a certified diver and is learning the manual part of the job with the Baltic Sea divers.
We have a water depth of 17 meters here, which is deeper than we normally dive in the harbour basin. So we also briefly talked about the diving table. I can dive for 50 minutes without a break before I return to the surface. And we will stick to that as long as nothing dramatic happens. If I'm not in the middle of a job that needs to be finished, then I'll return to the surface after 50 minutes.
The said table gives us a guideline how long the diver may safely stay and work underwater at appropriate depths.
1, 2, 3, ich höre dich laut und deutlich.
Ich dich auch, sehr gut sogar.
Gut, auf Reserve sind 220 Bar.
As with every dive, the communication hose is being checked.
Hauptluft liegt an.
Jo, Hauptluft geht, Helm ganz zu.
Du hast 11 Bar Vordruck.
A final check of the pressure and the dive can start.
In professional diving, I have not yet dealt with ghost nets, but I've recovered some privately, so I know the subject. And of course it's different now with the equipment I'm using, with the hose supply. I have to make sure that it's not hanging over the net somewhere. It's certainly a different experience.
The equipment, which weighs approximately 50 kilos, offers many safety advantages. Above all, there is a constant air supply and communication with the dive leader. Nevertheless, the diver must always keep an eye on his surroundings and avoid jerky movements on the wreck. The latter, however, must first be found.
I'll leave your light out for now.
Ich denke mal, ich werde genug Licht haben.
Denke ich auch.
Since Eric must be able to move freely on and above the wreck, he dives with less weight and fins. Firm footing on the seabed is not required. Today, it comes down to endurance and skill.
You know, if everyone could do it, we wouldn't have sent you in.
According to the coordinates, the Friedrich Engels, which sank in 1973, should actually be right here. Eric loses valuable diving time searching.
You're half a meter above the ground and see no wreck? How far can you see approximately? 7, 8 meters and you don't see a wreck? Well, make big circles. I'll have a search line prepared so you can fiddle around.
Lass oben mal schon mal eine Leine vorbereiten, eine Suchleine, die du dann da eintüdern kannst.
Ralph,
Kannst du mal bitte eine
can you get a search line ready, please? 30 meters or 20 meters?
20 Meter?
There's no wreck at our position right now.
Ja,
Ralle prepares a line.
Du kannst da schon mal suchen.
You can start searching.
Now it's a matter of improvising so that the diver can precisely mark out his search radius.
The diver has his bottom line on which he has descended, to which we have now attached an approximately 30-40 meter long search line. He now dives in circles in the hope that he finds it. If he doesn't, we'll stop the dive. Then it makes no sense to continue searching.
Dann macht es keinen Sinn, weiter zu suchen.
Is the all-important recovery of ghost nets failing because of faulty wreck coordinates? Meanwhile, in Rostock, on the company premises of the Baltic Sea divers. For many of their work assignments, the diving craftsmen come ashore just like their colleagues, by truck, lower travel costs included. Diving operations manager Andreas prepares the next job.
Well, this is our driver truck, completely equipped with diving equipment, for the rescue diver too. Now we're driving to Gielsdorf, over to the ferry dock, which is newly built. You can dive from shore there. So you walk into the water about 10 to 15 meters. We've got a 120-meter air supply line on the truck, and it's also quite shallow water there, only 4 meters deep. You go into the water like on the beach. You simply go to your position and work there.
The new construction site will keep the Baltic divers busy for several weeks. The preliminary check has already revealed several tricky tasks.
We've now probed a position there and have found that there are still construction remains. That is, steel girders and some sheet pile remains. We've now uncovered them, and getting rid of them is complicated.
And not only that is complicated. Setting up the extremely important voice connection from the truck to the diver also strains Andreas's nerves.
We just want to set it up and see how we get the signal from this part to the phone. The way it is now is like we had it last time. The sound is simply amplified. If I now... This was plugged in here. Look, now we have the telephone. With that noise, I can't hear the diver anymore.
Dann hörst du den Taucher nicht mehr.
Last time it was like this.
To the black cables? And that's how it works. And that's all we need to know. Otherwise, we need your phone number. You're on call 24/7, right?
At this point, Andreas and his crew do not yet know that this mission will be much more difficult than they thought. Meanwhile, in the 17-metre deep Baltic Sea off Sassnitz, diver Eric is still searching for the wreck of the Friedrich Engels, but he's slowly running out of time.
The diving time depends on the diving depth. The deeper we are, the lower is our bottom time, and of course shortens our diving time. The time he wastes now is missing later in the second dive. That's if he can still make one, and that's a pity. We're wasting time.
Das ist halt schade, das ist verschenkte Zeit, was wir hier gerade machen.
Diver hasn't found anything and will dive back along the search line and return.
For half an hour, Eric staked out a search radius of 40 metres, without success. The youngest Baltic Sea diver, nevertheless, takes it calmly.
No wreck far and wide, sandy bottom, shells, relatively good visibility, pleasant water. There are worse dives. But we haven't found what we wanted. We hope we can catch up and have more success with the next dive.
How could it happen that a wrong position was approached?
Wrecks are in nautical charts. Their positions are marked. There are coordinates that are accessible, and if you mix up just one number concerning longitude and latitude, you'll be 100 meters away from the right position.
Whether it's a mistake in the numbers or incorrect information, Captain Alex doesn't spend much time troubleshooting. He is a man of action.
We're getting the anchors in now. Change the position, the diver goes back into the water, and then we'll see.
200 metres further on, the BT-2 drops anchor again. Will this position from the chart directory bring more success? One thing is clear, a change of divers must take place.
Drop anchor.
Eric needs to take a break.
New game, new luck. Second try. When it comes to recovering the heavy nets, we do that 2 to 3 times every year. Sometimes you see a small net in the sandy bottom, and when you lift it, there's a huge mountain. Sometimes you have a net that weighs several tons. Sometimes you have a small pile of garbage that was dumped.
Jochen has been salvaging ghost nets from the oceans for various environmental organisations for 7 years now. His motivation is undiminished, and his vast experience is certainly an advantage. Biologist Verena Platt-Till emphasises the importance of the mission.
I've been fascinated by the sea since childhood, the beauty, the biodiversity. I started very early to snorkel and dive, and it was always so colourful. You saw seagrass meadows, different kinds of fish. Unfortunately, over the years, I've witnessed how the seas have changed and how the life that fascinated me has disappeared from the seas.
In fact, according to current studies, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish by 2050. A frightening development.
Diver in the water.
Hopefully the position of the BT-2 is correct now.
Time is running.
Jochen orients himself to his base weight and keeps a lookout. And indeed,
the wreck is right under the ship.
Very good. I'm glad. Parked correctly.
Well done.
The 17-metre-long fishing cutter Friedrich Engels sank in a storm in 1973. After almost 50 years, the wreck poses some serious danger for divers.
The cutter has been lying down there in the water for a few decades, and there's current and wave impact down there. It's no longer as stable as it used to be. It can collapse any time. The diver has to be very careful and know exactly where to move. Diving in wrecks is very tricky.
Das wäre denn das Schlimmste, was passieren könnte, ja? Tricky, die ganze Sache an den Wracks zu tauchen.
Diver Jochen inspects the wreck thoroughly in order to filter out the right net for the salvage from the tangle of ropes and mesh.
There are the ropes.
I have a net here, which is not too big, which we could get out.
You could take that one, you say?
It's outside. You can lower the crane into the water on the port side.
Lower the crane into the water on the port side. We'll take the big one, swing it over, and then lower it to the left of the ladder.
With sheer strength, Jochen would have no chance of freeing the net from the wreck.
If we're lucky, we can lift it up without destroying the wreck.
Then sit on top and make bubbles. That's where we would like the hook to go, a little further aft. We can't get there with the crane. Well, then he should find another one. Wait a sec. We can't get there with the crane hook. You're just too far aft of the ship. Can you check if you find something else?
I can pull the crane hook.
Ralle, let the crane hook down aft as far as possible. He pulls the crane hook a little.
Worldwide, more than 1 million tons of new ghost nets are added every year. That's an almost unbelievable amount. A net becomes a ghost net when it enters the seas. This happens through storms, for example, when a net breaks off and is then carried into the seas by the storm. But it can also happen that the fishermen sail over a wreck and then the nets get caught. And it also happens from time to time that the fishermen actually dump the nets.
Fishermen should report lost nets so that they can be recovered. To save money, however, this is unfortunately rarely done, and instead new plastic nets are used. A deadly cycle that also keeps Eric busy during his lunch break.
Thank you. Could I get some olive oil, please?
The instructor has his own approach to food as well, in order to preserve the sea.
I don't eat fish from the Baltic Sea that was bought in the supermarket. I only eat fish I fished myself. The reason is that there's always some trawling involved, so I avoid it completely, simply to spare the sea, because I love the sea.
Biologist Verena Platt-Till knows which fish you can still eat without hesitation these days.
Sustainable fishing has no fixed definition, but you have to make sure that the stocks are not endangered, that the quotas of scientific recommendations are kept. Of course, the fishing method is very important, and if you have a problem summarizing all these points, then you can simply get the fish guide from WWF, and there it's written in a traffic light system, which I find very clear and simple.
But back to diver Jochen and his ghost net.
How long has he been underwater?
17, 18 minutes approximately.
Oh, okay.
The hook comes down about 4 meters towards the bow.
Und stopp.
Yes, stop.
Ach, kleiner Kranhaken. Ja.
Yes, you can move it easily. Yes, it's probably digging in the net somewhere.
Wühlt wahrscheinlich gerade irgendwo im Netz.
Genau.
Legt da den Gurt rum. Was hast du angeschlagen?
Did you?
Kran
Hoist
langsam
crane
hieven.
slowly.
Langsam hieven.
Right, we can start.
Langsam los.
The crane of the BT2 can lift 4 tons, and that shows effect.
Alles stopp.
Rear out and stop. Stop
stopp.
again.
Ihr könnt
You can
wieder
hoist.
hieven.
Yes, I have to cut something free first.
Ah, jetzt fängt
Now
an
it's
zu
getting
reißen.
interesting.
Er schneidet.
Mit dem Stumpfmesser.
With a blunt
zu Hause
knife
quält man
like
sich
at
schon ganz
home,
schön.
it's torture.
Deswegen haben wir vor kurzem noch mal ein paar Messer durchschleifen lassen,
That's why we recently had a few knives sharpened again.
bisschen besser vorwärts kommt.
Weil er sagte, dass das Netz
He said that the net is attached to the wreckage.
sich auch verletzen. Also
Can he even hurt himself or break the suit?
You can always break the suit, but they are very
Das sind
robust.
schon sehr robuste Anzüge.
It remains dangerous nevertheless, and now it also gets ever clearer how troublesome the recovery of only one ghost net is. Jochen has already been working underwater for 45 minutes, and despite the expiration of the dive time, the net is still not free. Back at the permanent construction site in Gelsdorf near Rostock, diver Jens is getting ready for his mission in the murky harbour basin. There's an old steel girder that is to make way for the construction of a new ferry terminal. First, however, a mounting base for the crane has to be burned free.
Do you have the lights on or are they off?
I turned them off, but I can turn them on. Hold on. Lights are on. We have 3 boxes in the water. We now burn a hole here and a hole there. Then we make 2 shackles and try to pull them out with the crane. Oxygen should be on.
Can you see?
Nothing's coming out.
That's right, nothing's coming out.
Put oxygen on full blast.
Nothing comes out here.
Andre built these pliers, so it should work.
You should try something like that beforehand. I can get upset about this stuff when you don't try it out beforehand.
Yeah, try whether it's working.
I think the seal is too big. When I press it in, the hole is closed.
It's your dive. You have to make sure it all works. Just burn, damn it.
Not only the sea is rough, above water, the gas-oxygen mixture would generate the combustion flame. This is different underwater.
We have special electrodes for this underwater. Magnesium rods that are hollow in the middle so that oxygen can penetrate through them, that is, flow out at the front. And then electricity is applied, which creates the flame underwater. This then reaches a temperature of between 1400 and 1500 degrees underwater so that we can actually cut through the steel.
I can't burn with this. It won't work.
Jan is standing on the pontoon with a new pair of pliers in his hand.
Dude, what is this? There's no pressure on that thing.
Don't shout like that, I understand you.
Yes, Mom.
You 14 bar of pressure, now try it.
Why don't you just try these shitty pliers on land? Here, look what comes out. Nothing.
Dude, what do you want from me? I only pack the pliers just like everyone else.
Before you go diving, try them out on land.
I wasn't there. This is your dive, and every diver prepares for it or not.
Yes, stupid.
Yes, stupid. You've got 16 bar pre-pressure now. It can't be the pliers.
It's this seal. It's no good. There's no pressure. None at all.
And it's not because of that. Not the bottle, not the pliers. There must be something with the hose.
No, there's nothing coming out.
We'll get the shit out now and test it on land.
That's what I'm talking about.
And you can continue bathing. Jan, get all this shit out. I'm fed up.
Now the diving operations manager takes over in person.
Of course, we tried to find the fault. We disassembled the burning tongues. There are several parts to be checked to sort out whether enough oxygen is coming out. A filter could be clogged and so on. But we checked everything and it all works the way it should. We even replaced the seals. After that, we checked the cables. I noticed that our ground cable is broken. It's simply porous. If you use them in water for years, they break. Then you have to replace them, which we did. I think we can start burning in the next 10 minutes.
190 works, side block closed.
We don't jump from the edge of the pool. You know what would be shitty now?
If it didn't work.
Yes, exactly. Okay, power's on. You've got 155 amps. No oxygen.
No oxygen.
He's got no oxygen. I'm going crazy here.
Crazy? Ask me. I'm going crazy here.
He's turning something. Wait a sec. Now. It's gone very well.
Finally, the diver can weld. That took all the nerves and especially time. Just off the Baltic island of Rügen, things are now getting serious. Diver Jochen does not have much time left to free the ghost net from the clutches of the wreck of the Friedrich Engels. In addition, he must be careful not to get tangled in the net or even injured.
What was that?
I told you, watch out. That's how you ruin your suit really quickly. If there are fish hooks.
It's just also ownerless fishing gear. Fishing hooks can be found in heaps or fishing lines that get tangled in the nets. But he must be careful because otherwise he will break his suit.
Caution is advised in all places. Time is running against Jochen. The diver has already exceeded the announced 50 minutes of his bottom time.
Jochen, you've been diving for 60 minutes. According to my chart, that means you have to decompress in 5 minutes at 3 meters depth. The lowest step on the ladder is at 3 meters.
Leiterstufe. Okay, dann mal kurz stopp.
Stop for a moment. Jochen, are you all right? They have tension on the rope.
Stop. I have to cut a few lines down here. There are a few lines going into the wreck and into the bottom.
Now it has to happen quickly. Jochen should actually be already starting to surface.
Got another chain out of it.
I'm glad we have a flex. And that looks very good.
I had to cut away a lot because it lies half under the wreck.
But now dive leader Tobias makes some pressure.
Hose on contact, diver comes up slowly.
The net tangle on the crane hook is huge. The top priority now, however, is for the diver to return safely to the ship.
He's been in the water for 63 minutes now. He has exceeded his time by 13 minutes. He needs to decompress now.
This means that Jochen has to stay at a depth of 3 meters for more than 7 minutes in order to breathe out the nitrogen in his body. Captain Alex also ensures his safety on the bridge.
If we're in a position where we have to work, whether it's on a platform or at sea, then up on the bridge, the captain or the helmsman cares for the safety in the nautical area. He or she checks the radio, looks out and warns other ships if they get too close. Because we have a human life down there in the water, and the diver can't get out of the water that quickly. And the others have to perform all kinds of tasks on deck. So everything's split up, and everyone knows what they have to do. Your time is up, you can come out.
I will.
Diver coming out.
The highly dangerous dive operation on the unstable wreck has demanded a lot of strength and concentration from Jochen. The experienced helmet diver has already recovered several ghost nets on his missions and seems disappointed.
Jochen,
Great job, Jochen.
klasse Arbeit.
Unfortunately not. I'm dissatisfied.
Why?
That's the wreck, that's the stern of the wreck. And that side is sort of the port side. And that's where the wreck is completely interwoven with the timbers. If we had taken that out, we would have broken parts of the wreck. And back at the stern of the wreck, there was a big pile underneath. Unfortunately, the net goes underneath the wreck. I, unfortunately, had to cut off a lot.
Okay, you didn't get everything out.
Nicht alles raus.
No, there was a lot on the starboard side. There you can still salvage. There you can do another action. But it's just difficult under the wreck.
Despite all the displeasure, Jochen freed a few hundred kilos of net from the wreck, giving nature a little relief.
It's unbelievable. This is a material mix here. Ouch, now I've poked myself. You can see all the plastic here. The nets are made of different plastics, mainly polyamide, that is nylon, and you can see that very clearly here. And we also know that plastics decompose over time and then become microplastic. Here we still have a cable. No idea where that comes from.
To get even more trash out of the Baltic Sea, diver Eric is now allowed into the water again.
Of course I'm motivated. We've just seen that there's still a lot hanging, and we want to get that out now.
And don't come back empty-handed.
Shall I bring you a place now or what?
A nice scorpion fish.
Eric's basic time is limited to half an hour due to the unsuccessful search dive in the morning. Motivated to the diving hood, he searches for the right net for the recovery.
What's a guess? Is it free after that, or will we have to cut a lot? Okay, then we know.
Ghost nets made of nylon have a service life of 600 years.
If you look at all the garbage, all different kinds of garbage lying around in the water, and nobody sees it. If you imagine it lying around in the forest, you'd clean it up. But in the sea, nobody sees it, nobody cares. The animals eat it. We eat the animals, it accumulates in the food chain, If you imagine how many wrecks we have in the Baltic Sea, how many obstacles, there's garbage everywhere.
There are many microplastic particles per square kilometre in the oceans, often more than plankton, and fish perceive microplastics as plankton and ingest them, and as a result, it simply enters our food chain.
Until the 1960s, nets were made of natural fibres and dissolved in water. Today, salvaged nets are also a problem for the environment.
With the ghost nets, we have the problem that they consist of mixed plastics, and therefore it's not possible to recycle them after they have been salvaged. Because if you want to recycle something or want to recycle plastics, then it must be pure plastics, and therefore we have a huge problem with the ghost nets. And the only thing we can do so far is to burn the ghost nets.
The crane is free and could come out. Wait a sec, your hose line is hanging in there. No, that's not so cool. Hose on contact. Hose line is good. Hose line is good.
That went well just in time, because only a short time later, the freely cut net is pulled upwards, including all kinds of bycatch. Tyres and a loose piece of driftwood stick out of the ghost net. For the shortened second mission of diver Eric, a good yield.
Helmet is on, air is closed, helmet goes off.
My bag is heavier than yours.
Have you weighed it?
No, a little bit. I sorted it.
Where did you get the tyres?
They were hanging in there. I would have loved to take a bit more, and there's still more than enough down there. But at some point, we are then simply limited in time. You have to say, OK, now I'm going to cut this off. But there was still enough underneath with wooden planks that slowly gave way and came out. There would have been more, yes.
Frustration and success are close together today. The estimate of the weight from the first net, however, makes biologist Verena Platt-Till particularly satisfied.
Do you think it really is only 300 kilos?
Hard to say. Dry weight, drained weight, hard to say. Then we close the bag, tie a knot in it, and they can pick it up.
Dann können Sie es abholen.
On the one hand, I'm really happy that we were able to get so many nets out with the Baltic divers, so much net material, and in one day you have to imagine that. But when you think that there are still a lot of nets hanging on the wreck, it also makes me sad, because we can't continue today. And I know that this is just a wreck, but we have 16,000 wrecks here in the Baltic Sea. So we also have a lot of ghost nets, and the ghost nets have to come out.
The disposer in the port of Sassnitz is informed he will be ready with a transporter and a small loading arm, and will take this from us and dispose of it properly.
This risky operation of the Baltic divers is also rewarded. Over 450 kilograms of ghost nets and other garbage were recovered. A drop in the bucket, but nevertheless a moment when the Baltic Sea could briefly breathe a sigh of relief.